Alright, so this is the second deck I'm going to show you guys. Oh, this is what I call my Shaman Rock deck. So in Magic terms, a rock deck is like a green-black deck that has a lot of very efficient, very powerful cards. And I call it Shaman Rock because of a card called Fauna Shaman, which I'll show you actually. I'll just go over each card. Okay, Solemn Simulacrum. This deck revolves around a lot of creatures with comes into the battlefield effects, or leaving the battlefield effects, or something from the graveyard, you know. So yeah, enters the battlefield. Solemn Simulacrum. You search your library for a basic land, put it in the battlefield tapped, and then when it dies, I draw a card. So this deck revolves around a lot of creatures like this, enter the battlefield effects and stuff. So that's why that's there. Maelstrom Pulse is really good. It's kind of like Vindicate, but you can only destroy non-lands. But the advantage is that you destroy everything else with the same name. So if the opponent has tokens, or if the opponent has 2 or more copies of the same card on the battlefield, then this is better than Vindicate. Sylvan Library. This is basically Sensei's Divining Top in enchantment form. You draw 3 cards every turn, basically. You know, well, 2 cards in addition to your regular card that you draw every turn, and then you can choose to put them back on top of your library, or pay 4 life per card that you keep. You usually shouldn't. Well, I usually don't pay 4 life per card unless it's really, really good and I need it. But basically, it just digs your deck deeper, which is really good. Okay, it's a black-green deck. We know that. Thrown the Last Troll, very efficient creature, 4 mana, 4/4. Can't be countered. Can't be targeted spells or abilities. Basically, it's hexproof. That's same thing as hexproof. 2 mana to regenerate. So very, very hard to kill. Yeah, it's just very, very hard to kill and get rid of. Like especially if you're facing a blue deck, they can't return it back to your hand. They can't counter it. Yeah, it's very hard to deal with. Vampiric Tutor is a really good card. 1 mana instant. Just pay 2 life. Search your library for any card and put it on top of your deck, just for 1 mana instant. Very, very powerful card. Overgrown Battlement. This is because I have some other walls in this deck as well, but it's just a very good wall. Just 2 mana, 0/4. Can attack, obviously. It's a wall, but it adds 1 mana. You can add 1 mana for each wall that you have, and I have other walls in this deck. So this is a dual land, Woodland Cemetery, black-green. So gotta have dual lands. Vengevine, 4 mana, 4/3 haste. Hasty guy. When you cast a spell, if it's a second creature spell, you return it from your graveyard to your battlefield. So you can reanimate it, basically, if you play a lot of creatures in this deck, which often I do. Another Solemn. Okay, Genesis is cool. 5 mana, 4/4. Each upkeep, if it's in my graveyard, I can pay 3 mana. And I mean, at the beginning of my upkeep, so every turn, if it's in my graveyard, I can pay 3 mana. And if I do, I return any creature from my graveyard to my hand. And if this is in my graveyard, so that means the only way to stop this effect from happening is if the opponent has something to remove this from the graveyard, which a lot of people don't. So this is often very hard to get rid of, and then you can get your creatures back every turn, which is very annoying. And we play them, and that's why I have a lot of enters the battlefield effects, so you can keep replaying them, you know. Eternal Witness, I've gone over this one before, but it's an amazing card. Any card gets back from your graveyard to your hand. What can I say? It's just amazing. Gone with this. Wall of Blossoms is the other wall I have in my deck. 2 mana, 0/4. Comes into play, you draw a card. I mean, it's very simple. I still wish they should reprint this card. I don't know why they haven't reprinted it in Modern Masters yet, but they should definitely reprint this in Modern Masters, the next one. Yeah, it's just a really, really awesome, efficient card. 2 mana, 0/4. Enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Very simple. Mimic Vat. So imprint, when something dies, I put it in the Mimic Vat, and then 3 mana, I put a token to play. So copy, gains haste. The main reason I have this is because I have a lot of creatures with enters the battlefield effects. So say my Wall of Blossoms dies, then I put it on the Mimic Vat, and then I can pay 3 mana, put a 0/4, and I draw a card because this has an effect, right? And in this case, I draw a card. In the Eternal Witness case, I get a card back. You know, so that's why I have a lot of enters the battlefield interactions here. Very cool. Demonic Tutor is what can I say? It's It's better than Vampiric Tutor, and for 1 more mana, you get it directly to your hand. Like, just search your library for any card you put in your hand, like for 2 mana. That's just amazing, right? The best tutor, just puts it directly in your hand. You have my other, again, very good, well, in this case, when it dies, it has an ability. I search my library for 2 land cards, and I put it in my hand when it dies, and I can sacrifice it to make it die. So it actually gives you a +3 card advantage if you use the ability here. By the way, if I use Mimic Vat, tokens actually do die. I think tokens actually do go to the graveyard, so this effect will still trigger even if it's a token, which makes it great. You have my Hollow. It adds colorless mana, which is not good for this deck, but the special ability here, Regenerate Target Creature, can be very useful. So I have it there. Acidic Slime, another very good Into the Battlefield battlefield ability. Death Touch kills anything, but when it enters the battlefield, destroy artifact, enchantment, or land. Of course, if I can make this effect happen multiple times, that's very good. Profane Command. I like this card, very versatile. I choose 2 of these abilities. Make the player lose X life. Return a creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield. Kill a creature, get -X, or X target creatures gain fear, which means they can't be blocked by black creatures or artifact. They can't be blocked except by black creatures and artifact creatures, which is a lot of the time, and they might not be expecting it. So fear is just can be a quick burst of damage for them to seal the kill, or kill some creatures or get a creature back, or just straight outright make the player lose life. It's just so versatile. I love it. Another Vampiric. Chaotic Relentless, you've seen this in my other deck. But yeah, really awesome guy. Planeswalker. You can deal 3 damage to a creature, give 3 tokens, and when it transforms, puts a 1/1 token Death Touch, and tutors for a creature card when it transforms. Which it doesn't that often, but its initial form is also really good. Yeah, Volrath Stronghold. Also really cool land. It's colorless mana, yes, but 2 mana, you put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. And because lands are so hard to destroy in comparison to creatures, the fact that this ability is on a land is really annoying, and really annoying for the opponent, and really useful. Okay, another Vengevine. Have Kitchen Finks. Gone over this card before, but it's really awesome. I can just put this card in so many of my decks. It's so awesome. 3 mana for 3/2. Comes into battlefield ability, comes to play ability, gain 2 life, and persist. So if it dies, comes back again, gains me another 2 life. So I can reuse this effect to gain life, which is awesome. This is a promotional version too. Living Death. Really cool. This is a really cool card. Each player exiles all creatures from his ability, sacrifices, and then puts all the cards they exile on the battlefield. Basically what this does is, whatever you have on the battlefield, whatever you have in graveyard, you basically swap them. You swap the creatures in your battlefield and the creatures in your graveyard. So you swap them, and then what was dead becomes alive, what was alive becomes dead. So oftentimes I use this when I have a lot of dying effects, and the opponent has a lot of creatures. And then I use this, and all my creatures trigger the dying effects, and my creatures come back from the graveyard with their enter the battlefield effects. So I get like so much value out of that, and the opponent's creatures dies. Okay, Fauna Shaman. This is the reason why I call this deck Shaman Rock for Fauna Shaman. It's a built-in ability that's like Survival of the Fittest, if any of you know that card. Same amount of mana cost, but yeah, the ability is discard a creature card, search my library for a creature, and put it in my hand. This is useful because I can search, I can tutor for anything I want, and I put the creature in my graveyard so I can use it for another graveyard-related effect, which I have here, Recurring Nightmare. So these two, this is the old school combo. This used to be Survival of the Fittest, but now it's Fauna Shaman. Basically, I can sack a creature, return this to my hand. This is enchantment. It goes back to my hand. Then I can get a creature card from my graveyard into play. But if I discarded a creature card, basically I can discard anything, search my library for a creature card, sack some other creature I have on the field, and return the one I just discarded into the battlefield. That's really useful, and that makes this card kind of broken. The fact that you return this to your hand makes it kind of hard for the opponents to destroy this. They have to use like a naturalize or something, but they can't destroy this with a sorcery anyways. They have to use an instant. Okay, and this might be one of the creatures that I target with Recurring Nightmare. Basically, when it comes into play, into the battlefield, I get 4 1/1 squirrel tokens, which are basically 2/2s because of the second ability. So I get 4 2/2s when it comes back. And if I can abuse this and reuse this, I get 4 1/1s every time. So that's, or 4 2/2s every time, so that's awesome. Pretty awesome. Soul Foundry. So I imprint, it comes into play. So I remove a creature card in my hand, I put it on this, pay the creature's mana cost, and then I can make a token copy of it. And like I said, token copies still get to use their enter the battlefield and dying effects. So yeah, with something like this, for example, pay 5 mana, I get 4 2/2 squirrels every time, or Kitchen Finks, I can copy that, I gain 2 life, and 2 life every time. On copy like this one, I get massive card draw all the time, so it's really useful. It's very similar to the Mimic Vat, actually. What else do I have? Gone over all those ones. Oh, Yawgmoth's Will. This is a very powerful card. This is banned, by the way. So, but I'm playing casual, so it's okay. Until end of turn, I play cards in my graveyard as though they were in my hand. Cards I've put in my graveyard removed from game instead. So yeah, if I have stuff in my graveyard, my graveyard just becomes my hand for 1 turn. That's why this is banned. It's ridiculously powerful, but yeah, in casual settings, it's nice to pull that one off once in a while. They go, well, you're playing with Yawgmoth's Will. What the heck? It's cheating. All right, Treetop Village, awesome. It's 2 mana. Oh, I have Spirit Monger just for nostalgic reasons. This guy is just really awesome. It's 5 mana for 6/6. I know with the power creep in Magic these days, this guy might not seem that great, but back in the day, he was really good. Hall of Fame creature, guys. 5 mana for 6/6. When it deals damage, Vampiric effect, he gets a +1/+1 counter. He grows as long as he doesn't die. But then it's hard for you to make him die because he can regenerate, and he also becomes the hero of your choice. So that can be useful for like a Circle of Protection or something if the opponent still plays those things. But yeah, Spearmonger, really awesome creature. Liliana the Veil is a very powerful planeswalker. +1 abilities, each player discards a card. Plus the -2 is a Chainer's Edict, basically, making the player sack a creature, which is really good because this is not a targeting effect. So if the opponent has a hexproof creature like a Thrun, then they have to get rid of it because it's a sacrifice effect. So it's not a targeted effect. So that's a really good ability. Thragtusk is also a really cool creature for the reason that it has an enters the battlefield and it leaves the battlefield effect. Gain 5 life, put a 3/3 beast creature token when it dies. Yeah, you put this on a Mimic Vat or a Soul Foundry, then you reap the benefits every time when the token enters and dies. Score Rack. Number 1, this is an interesting card. It's very similar to Sensei's Divining Top, I think. It's just you basically choose any number of, it's basically a Sensei's Top that's like, or a Sylvan Library that's like you choose like an X amount of cards to put up back on top of your deck, but you choose a number of cards in your hand, you put it aside, and you draw that many cards, and you put those cards on that you just set aside on top of the deck. So you just shuffle your cards around, but it lets you get to your good cards faster, which is really great. So that's it. That's my Shaman Rock deck, black-white. Very cool deck, and I duplicate most of these decks in Magic Online, but yeah, it's a cool deck.